try not to read the comments because I look at it as, why do I need somebody to validate me either way?
Molly Qerim Rose is an Emmy Award-winning journalist. She's the host of First Take on ESPN, a philanthropist, and overall amazing woman. I'm so excited. She's going to be my guest for the season finale of Girls of the Game. Molly, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, the finale, saving the best for last. I'm
so excited.
I am just kidding. Rachel, you look beautiful, and kudos to you on starting this podcast, and I'm honored to be here. Let's do it.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a question I totally stole from TikTok, but it's one of my favorites that I've heard so far. So It's, what surprises you the most about your life right now?
I think what surprises me the most right now is centered around the pandemic. One, hosting a live television show from my basement is so strange. I've been in this business since I graduated college and never thought in a million years I would ever work from home. Like, I never thought that was even remotely possible with this type of position. So yes, I still honestly cannot believe it. I would say that. And the other thing that's pretty surprising at this point is I haven't traveled it will be a year in February since the NBA All-Star game. So I haven't been on a plane, and normally I'm traveling a few times a month. So those two things are pretty surprising in this career path that I never expected to happen.
Yeah, who would have been able to predict this? And on the same topic, this has been a crazy year, to say the least. From the beginning, it kind of seems like the first thing I remember about this year was the tragic and untimely death of Kobe Bryant, to the pandemic, and then the kind of race revolution happening here in the States. What was and then during this whole thing, you're on TV. So how did you navigate that, and what do you think your kind of role is as someone with influence?
So I think it was a bit overwhelming, and I think initially this has been an awful year for me and my family personally. My brother-in-law also suddenly passed away, and a few other family incidents. I lost my grandmother to COVID, my husband's grandmother, and we had a few other deaths in the family. So it started off with Kobe passing. So yes, 2020 has been extremely challenging. And then I think other than that, I really felt like just a sponge consuming so much. And unfortunately, I really try to be glass half full and optimistic. It was just so much pain from everywhere. With the pandemic and with the racial injustice, and just seeing these issues that we're talking about hundreds of years ago, 400 years in the making, that folks still have to fight for. And I think also my husband is Black, I'm not, in seeing his pain, and he's somebody that is always very even keeled, very solid, doesn't really express a lot of emotions, and just seeing how it just brought up so much inside him. So I don't know if overwhelming's the right word. It was just a lot. It was a lot. And I think for me, I felt so grateful, one, to have my health, one, to have a job, one, to have, my family healthy outside of what happened with my grandmother. And from my vantage point, it was just like, okay, what can I do? What can I do with my little platform? What can I do with my resources? Because I can't stand to see so many people suffering like this. So I think in some ways, this is a very long-winded answer. 2020 has been so challenging. I feel like it's our wartime. And, when we talk about the racial injustice, we're talking about 400 years. So that's not new to 2020. I think a lot was just brought to the forefront, and for like mainstream America, especially with George Floyd specifically. But so not only has it brought up a lot of pain and brought a lot to light, at the same time, I think it's given me time to kind of reset and pause in terms of what's important, what do I want to dedicate my time to, and my energy, because so many people are in need.
Definitely. I think for forever, there was kind of like this separation or, stick to sports type of mentality that was common, but now it can't be ignored. And I think, your show has done such an amazing job of bringing those things to the platform. So what are you most proud of that you've been able to do in 2020?
What am I most proud of? One thing with First Take that I really do love is that we don't shy away from those issues. And that didn't begin in 2020. That's always, since I joined the show 5 years ago when it was Skip and Stephen A. So those kind of hot button issues where other shows would kind of shy away and try to like play it a little more safe. We didn't. We tackle those, and I love that about First Take. And as far as the stick to sports, there's no sticking to sports. It's all overlapping at this point. So I think it was nice to be able to discuss a lot of the issues in terms of the social justice movement, because obviously athletes played such a significant role. I do a lot with the Boys and Girls Club, and working with inner city youth. So I continue to do that, and I ramped up those efforts. I'm kind of playing Santa to some of the local clubs, so that meant a lot to be able to try to just help bring a little light on their holiday. And also I hosted a lot of galas virtually to try to raise money. That was for the Boys and Girls Club specifically. I worked with the Innocence Project and interviewing an exoneree for their gala, their fundraising efforts to shed light on what they're doing and this epidemic of false imprisonment, which goes to another issue in coerced confessions, and bringing this particular story, an exoneree, Hugh Burton, who was convicted of murdering his mother, which he never did. And he spent 19 years in jail for a crime he didn't do. So that was something I put my efforts towards. And I think the other piece would be outside of just personal friends and family and trying to uplift and connect and come together. I've been vocal now that I have endometriosis, and that's a pretty debilitating disease that's affecting so many women, and we don't have a cure. And there's, it's very, I guess it's not the most popular subject to talk about. So, working with that organization for advocacy, two things that we did is surrogacy was actually still illegal in New York. So I helped to pass that bill. It's hard to believe in New York and Michigan were the last two states. So
can you explain what surrogacy is, please?
Yeah. So essentially, if I can't carry my own child, right? If I can't, for whatever reason, surgeries from endometriosis, there's so many different. You could have had cancers, just born without the capability to do so. There's two ways. So I don't want to get too into it. I can if you want, but there's surrogacy, and then what's also called like a gestational carrier. But essentially, if I did IVF and created an embryo and placed that embryo into the surrogate, these wonderful women that will carry your child, it allows women or men or any type of couple, any type of relationship to be able to have a child if they couldn't do it like the natural way, the quote unquote conventional way. And families are changing and family dynamics, and I found it so hard to believe. I couldn't believe that was considered illegal in New York City, but it was. But that was one thing, and there was another bill that was passed in conjunction with the Endometriosis Foundation and getting $26 million budget passed in just getting research, because 1 in 10 women are affected. So research, so there would be brochures in doctor's office. Young girls are getting educated on the subject, because one of the major issues is it takes over 10 years to get a diagnosis and there is no cure. So, education is key, and then obviously research. So not only do I say it's like a debilitating disease in terms of the symptoms and ailments that come along with it. It can also affect your fertility, and that hence the piece with the surrogacy as well.
I just feel like you are so brave to be able to open up about something like endometriosis, which is taboo almost, is so important. And I think we don't do it enough. So thank you for opening up about it and sharing your story. What kind of went into why you wanted to do that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I appreciate you saying that, but I was not at all a hero because I had had it since my 20s and I never spoke about it. And I never planned to speak about it. Working in a very male dominated industry, it was just not something that I felt comfortable talking about. It's not the sexiest subject at all whatsoever. So I was kind of ashamed and embarrassed by it. And then when I moved back to New York, I'd been at NFL Network in California, and I moved back to the East Coast for the opportunity with ESPN. And I had heard there was this Endometriosis Foundation of America. They have a Blossom Ball every year. Padma Lakshmi was one of the founders of it. And I wanted to attend the ball. And they said, do you want to do anything? Do you want to speak? Do you want to do this? And I was like, no, I just want to be anonymous wallflower and kind of take it all in. And hearing so many women speak, and I was hearing about these horrific surgeries these girls were getting, and they were losing their fertility as teenagers, and they were told this was their only option and not getting the proper medical treatment. I felt like I had to speak out. So it wasn't even like a want, so I can't act like I'm so courageous, but I had no other option. And I just said, I never consider myself, and I'm not a celebrity, like an actress or a big time singer or that kind of thing. But I said, I am a public figure. I am on television. There is somewhat of a platform, and we do have somewhat of a following. Obviously, Stephen A. and Max do, but with First Take. So it came back to the question earlier you said about 2020, what can I do? So I called ESPN, our PR contact on the show, Diane Lamb, and I just said, hey, just to let you know, I have this, it's stage 4. I've been suffering with it for years. I've had multiple surgeries, and I want to tell my story because I want the girls that are silently suffering at home and not getting the help they need to know that they're not alone and they're going to get through this. And kind of I'm walking with them, not to sound so corny. And then they just ended up, Good Morning America. It was Amy Robeck came out to my house and we did a sit down interview and we talked about it. And I kind of had a little bit of anxiety after, like, oh my gosh, I can't, when you open up about anything, that's how I always am. When I really open up to somebody, I get a little after, I'm kind of like, should I have? I don't know, even though that brings connection and it's those special moments. So, I did. And now I'm happy. And now still the same question. I'm like, what more can I do? What can we do here? So many people are suffering. How's there, no cure? So that's where we are.
You said you're not brave. You said you're not all these things, but you are. And it makes such a big difference. Like, it really does. It really does. On the same topic of being brave and being a woman in this industry, I feel like you get and you know this, you get a lot of hate, of criticism, of all of that. How do you deal with that?
One thing that I noticed for sure, so oftentimes our show is cut into clips. So it'll just be, the debate and it's put on YouTube, right? So the only time you hear me speak, so you won't hear the beginning, you won't hear my setup, my question, it'll just be the actual debate. And then maybe the headline underneath will be, is LeBron the greatest of all time? Then you hear the guys. Then you hear me at the end, like, we gotta go. And I understand for the audience at home where they're seeing that clip, like, oh gosh, she's so annoying. She's interrupting the guys. She's trying to get involved. But for me, that's my job, is to move the conversation along so we can get to all these other topics and get to our commercial breaks with our advertisers. So that's actually what I'm meant there to do. So I understand where it can be like infuriating for people when they want to hear the debate, they want it to go on longer and they're passionate. And I'm grateful that they are, but I guess that's kind of what my role is, playing traffic cop. So I don't know. I think watching the presidential debate, it was funny. And seeing that first debate, did you watch?
Oh, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, with Chris Wallace. And I'm like, gosh, a moderator is such a thankless job. But, you know, I think it used to bother me more. I really just try not to read the comments because I look at it as, why do I need somebody to validate me either way? Why do I need somebody at the end of the show to be like, wow, Molly, great point. Loved your outfit. Huge fan. Or, you know, then look at a comment and it's like, you're so annoying. You only got the job because of this. Fire Molly. So at the end of the day, if I prepare, you know, and I do my best and kind of just give it up to God, that's all I can do, you know? So, and the other thing I've really learned is you're never going to please people. So even if you did exactly what they want you to do, there's going to be a group of, they're just not going to like you. Not everybody's going to like you. And I'm naturally a people pleaser. So that's something that I've always had, that I've struggled with. And I still try to, in terms of even personal engagement, saying no when I don't want to do something, or letting people down, where I'm always kind of, I think, thinking of others' needs before mine. But then it's self-care. Then you're kind of no good to anybody. So that's something, you know, personally and professionally that I've certainly had to work on. So I would say, yeah, now for the most part, I just accept it because it is what it is. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that can't stand me. And then there's some people like you that do like me. So yeah, I'm just just doing a job and then letting it go.
Yeah, and the haters are always louder. They always have more time to make weird compilations than the fans. So it's weird.
And
it's
also,
super
who
weird.
really sits there? Would you ever in your life sit there, or like any of your friends, and write mean comments to people, like internet trolls, like the people?
It's weird. It's really weird.
I can't respect their opinion because I don't even respect that behavior, period. So,
and it's so like, the comments aren't even like constructive criticism. They're like, didn't like your shirt, or your makeup this, or your hair this. Like, it had nothing to do with what you said. And I think, like, even with I'll bring it up because you brought up the debate and everything, but everyone's saying, like, you know, it's really important for, you know, girls to see Kamala Harris, and it is. And it's important for girls to see you on ESPN, you know, but it's also important for boys to see, and for them to know that. And I'm glad that you take up space. Taking up space is so important.
Overall, we do, you know, we have a lot of fun on the show. And like I said earlier, I really like the topics that we get to talk about specifically on First Take, because I feel like there is a bit of a crossover.
Switching gears a little bit, what advice would you give to the younger Molly?
I think not to worry so much about what anyone else thinks. And I also looking to outside sources kind of for validation and what's next on your path as well. I really believe we have the answers inside us, not to get too deep, but we know, like we know, whether you want to call it gut, intuition, universe, God, whatever, you know, suits you personally. So a lot of times I would ask 80 people, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it's, at the end of the day, if you really get quiet and still, you know. And even certain situations where things aren't right for you, you know, and I knew a role wasn't right for me, or I knew working with this particular person or a group of people, but I still, you know, you still did it anyway because you're like, well, it's an opportunity, I have to take advantage of it. And it just didn't sit right with you. And then after, it doesn't work out. So I think really honing in and listening to your intuition, listening to that inner voice, and kind of just ignoring the noise, not to sound so like New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, but honestly, not worrying about that. I mean, not what people say, what people think, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you have like a few, don't get me wrong, we all need feedback. And I still need feedback and constructive criticism, and I still want to grow. And there's still other things, obviously, that I would like to do and that sort of thing. But if you have a few trusted people, and it's your family and friends and the people that you love, that's really what matters. I think the rest is just noise. But initially early on, it's just like you're so impressionable and you're so unsure if you can actually do it, unsure if you can actually make it. And I remember Deion Sanders saying to me, he's like, Molly, you have to believe in you before anyone else is going to believe in you. So even if you fake it till you make it, whatever, like you, and some people say faith it till you make it. And it's so true, because it's finally kind of when you change that energy and you really do start to believe in yourself, that's kind of when everything conspires and you move forward. And I've seen that, you know, in my career path, when there's been certain lulls or a job didn't work out, and then it's like, okay, let's put on your big girl pants, let's get it together, you got this, you know, listening to the mantras, listen to the good music, get fired up, do a good workout, that kind of thing, put on your best outfit and like look cute, feel good, and then get back on the saddle, get out there. And that's when things, I think, really start to happen. So you truly do. I think a lot of times I would wonder, like, well, you know, why am I not considered for that? Or, and it's like, forget that, you know, just forget the why. Don't worry. And also don't worry about what other people are getting or not getting, or that. Just stay focused. Oprah would always say that. Not that I'm at all comparing myself to Oprah by any means, but when she was in daytime television, they were like, your show's never going to work. Oh, the new show's coming. Ricky Lake's coming, this show, that show. And she's like, I never cared. She didn't watch. She didn't, because then you're getting distracted and you're taking the focus off your craft. So that's about 80 lessons right there. But that's something I'm constantly on a journey of self-improvement and growth every day. And I still have a long way to go. So that's something I work on a lot.
Oh, those are so many gems. Faith it till you make it. Comparison is the thief of joy. Love it.
Yes.
Love it, love it, love it. So have you had a moment where you felt like you've made it?
No, because I don't feel like I have. There's so much more I want to do. So there's been like certain moments. I remember like Eminem put something out, and there's been like weird, you know, like certain things my friends will tell me or that sort of thing. And they're like, oh, that's crazy. But no, no, I don't. Because I feel like there's so much more that I still need to do.
That's awesome. Okay, so that kind of leads into my next question.
Sure.
What legacy do you want to leave?
I really live by a Mother Teresa quote, and even in my high school yearbook, I quoted her. So this isn't something new, and that was a really long time ago. I want to leave people. This was the quote, like, don't leave anyone, or leave everyone better and happier. And I truly believe that. At the end of the day, I honestly, you know, do not care about making the most money or being the most successful or fame, whatever, any of that. I don't care. Because I know what it's like to not have money and to have money. So what I really want to be thought of, I guess, as like a beautiful spirit. I want to connect with people. I want to uplift them. And for whatever amount of time I'm on this earth, that's what I hope to do and to continue to do.
For sure. And you're already well on your way to doing that.
A work in progress. We all are, right?
Yeah. That's so encouraging to hear. And to hear that you're hungry to do more things is also so encouraging too, because I think a lot of the time we think, you know, once we reach this and once we're, you know, where you are now, like that's like, you know, that's it. But it's like, no, still have a long way to go. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Really
and
cool
I also feel like the more you're blessed, it's like also the more you want to be able to give back and kind of uplift others and encourage them. And it's all part of it. And so in some ways, when they say like you get what you give, it's really true. For sure. I can't thank you enough. I just really appreciate you talking to me. I know we were supposed to keep this short, but I love talking to you. I enjoyed talking to you. You are natural.